Let me try to address some of these. And I'm going to start in a strange place. I'm a science fiction fan, and one piece of science fiction that I continue to love is the original Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And
All right.
there was an episode called The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street.
Oh, yeah.
And it really relates to the moment that we're in. Because basically what happens, I want to just set the scene for you. There's this neighborhood, it's in a suburb somewhere, and all of a sudden, all of the power goes out. Everything. And people get in their cars to drive, the cars are dead, radios are dead, everything. And they send one person into a nearby neighborhood to see how wide the blackout is. The person doesn't come back for several hours. It starts getting dark. When it gets dark, lights come on in one person's house. And people then start speculating, why did the lights come on this one person's house? And from there, they started talking about, this is actually an invasion from outer space. And one thing leads to another. You've got to see it, because actually, for those of you that are educators, I would argue you can use this as an excellent trigger for a discussion, because the neighborhood devolves into mass murder. Everybody kills each other out of complete and total panic. In the situation that we're in, the monsters are due. And the power has gone out in certain places, but every so often it seems to come on. So we have people like Newt Gingrich that say the power is on in the public sector. Why is the public sector, I forgot what he calls, an elite class or something? I'm saying, I don't know what I'm being told, but it's like, how does this person have the moral authority to make such a statement? But he makes it, and for some people whose power is not on, using this metaphor, right, they say, well, maybe there is something to this. And rather than looking at the facts, they start reacting. That is a lot of what's going on right now, which makes our job as the left that much more important, because we're the ones that have to be dispelling this notion about the monsters. We're the ones that have to be talking about where the power is and where the power is not, literally and figuratively. So this whole contradiction between the public sector and the private sector, what's amazing there is, as we saw in Wisconsin, is that the public is being told that the public sector has all these benefits at the same time that there's all these tax breaks for the wealthy. And it doesn't seem to break through to many people that the same people, for example, in Washington, that was saying extend the Bush tax cuts, which would have gone away towards dealing with the deficit, are the ones that are now saying no tax cuts, but we're going to cut everything else. We're going to cut all of these programs. And they've whipped people up into a panic. We are dealing with mass panic. And it's being played very, very well by the political right. And it's gotten into the ranks of the unions, where this fear, this sense of anxiety that I may be losing my job soon, why do you have this? I tie it to what I call the pizza phenomenon. And the pizza phenomenon is something I discovered a number of years ago when I started doing strategic planning with community-based organizations and unions. So, I was doing planning, and you get to the budget, and you start talking about the budget, and you might talk about, a budget of like $1 million or more, and people's eyes would glaze over. But you could get people going the moment you start talking about how much is being spent on a pizza for a meeting. And then all of a sudden, people are already, why are we spending that amount of money on pizza for the meeting? No discussion about why, about whether or not we invest more money in organizing or about this, but damn it, we're going to do something about that pizza in the meetings, right? There is a way that people are trained to focus on the narrow, the local, the immediate, the easy, the tangible. A lot of what we're raising I mean, how many of us can think of $1 trillion? I mean, what the hell does $1 trillion look like? It's an abstraction. $1 trillion. It's an abstraction unless you've lost your job or unless your pension has been destroyed. But everyone knows that at least one public sector story. It's just like everyone has a story about a taxi driver that screwed them, right? Everyone does, right? You know that, right? Everyone has a story about a public sector worker. You know, damn it, I went to the post office and this guy was sitting there and there's a line that from here to Staten Island and the guy didn't want to do anything. Everyone has those stories. Trying to focus on the $1 trillion, trying to focus on the implications of a lot of this is, for many people, an abstraction. We have to make it real. That's part of the challenge in this thing between the public sector and the private sector. I don't think that we've made it real enough. And the right will play on people's myopia. They'll play on that anxiety in a way that we can't because we're concerned with the truth. And they're not. So they have a luxury that we will never have. So that's why I wanted to start there, because I think that's a lot of what we're grappling with. We've got to figure out a way to, in a more popular way, explain power dynamics in this country and where the money is. And just asking questions to people. How could the same people that were saying that we should not end the Bush tax cuts be telling us that we cut the federal government and get rid of food safety inspection? I mean, you know, you want hamburger with salmonella or without? You know, what about, you know, I don't know about you, but, you know, every time I drive down any of our highways and I cross a bridge, I say the Lord's Prayer. And until I'm on the other side. And when I go through a tunnel, I just hope that I'm traveling fast enough so that if the tunnel opens up, I'll either be pushed out by a great wave, right, or I'll be out, right? Why? Because we're losing these inspectors. There's not the rebuilding. We've got to make this real to people. And when we don't, when we just simply talk, you know, one thing that Al Gore found out in his race for the presidency was that when he talked about the upper 10%, there were a lot of poor people that thought that they were in the upper 10%. And it's like, we've got to talk about, are you a millionaire? How many people in here are a millionaire? And make it real. Make this tangible, you know, to folks. And I think that will help us in terms of the breakthrough that we've got to make. In terms of some of this first question that was raised about the public sector, part of what I'd say is that we have not been very good about articulating real structural reform demands that speak, we meaning the union movement, that speak to the needs of the people. One of the greatest disservices, and I've got myself into trouble with the American Federation of Teachers for saying this, but one of the greatest setbacks in the history of New York City was the 1968 teachers' strike. And the impact that had in terms of the relationship between teachers and communities, and the extent to which the communities, particularly the Black and Puerto Rican community, felt that the teachers were not fighting for them. And I would say from 1968, it has been a downhill slide. That the teachers' unions, by and large, not just in New York, but in many other places, have not been able to capture the imagination of the public, that the public feels, yes, we really are fighting for you, as opposed to someone named Michelle Rhee, who shows up and starts articulating this notion that she and her posse are going to eliminate all obstacles, and everyone has a bad teacher story too. We all do, right? We all remember that one teacher that couldn't teach one damn thing. Very few of us, unless we're forced, will then stop and say, but there was also that other teacher that made a real difference in my life and who I became. But we can always remember that one bad teacher. So part of the problem that we face is that the unions have to articulate demands that really are speaking on behalf of the public and not not be demands that are dropped the moment they've been able to cut a deal with the state capitol or with the mayor. See, this is one of these things that I've seen time and again in the union movement, where we'll start building up a campaign and we get people going, and then somebody goes off, to Martha's Vineyard, and they cut this deal, and then they say the campaign is over. And then the masses, the folks outside of the union say, what are we, chopping liver? I mean, like, what happened? What happened to this demand? We've got to make sure. Thank you. We've got to make sure that we're building strategic alliances that follow through on this. And I think that will make a difference.